Welcome to the Dixie Doggers podcast. We're here to share knowledge and heritage. We hope y'all enjoy. For the best cut gear in the business, get with Dave Williams at Southern Cross Cut Gear. Make sure to use code Dixie Doggers for savings on all your Southern Cross cut gear. www.hogdoggear.com.
If you're buying or selling land, farms, or hunting property, these folks know land. Get with Phil Wilson from Georgia Land Brokerage, 678-791-3483.
777 Kennels, Advanced K9 Nutrition. Vertex K9 Essentials, Advanced K9 Nutrition, beneficial to all breeds. You can contact them at 979-206-3050. What's up, everybody? Here we are. We're going in episode number 14,762, Dixie Doggers Podcast. All right, so this is what we're doing today. We have the guy from Heide Terrier USA on here. It is a guy named Josh. We've talked with Josh before, and Josh came over and hunted with us, and he brought some of his Heide Terriers, which, as a lot of you guys out there know, we have been running some of the Heide Terriers that he has brought in, and some that he has bred up, and he's starting to put out there. We are evaluating them, and we are putting them through the paces here in Alabama. They're just now getting old enough to really get going, and we like them. We like them a lot. So what's up, Josh? What have you been doing, homie, for the past couple of days since you've been home?
I really think we need to not even focus on the Terriers for a second and just focus on Northern Alabama.
What's wrong with Alabama? Everything.
I mean, it was humbling. I appreciate you guys inviting me out, and you guys are good friends to me now. And, I just coming from the West and going to the East and the South, I think where you guys are is an extreme place to hunt and build dogs. I don't know if you guys have got to go out west or, how far you have ventured that way, but Northern Alabama, I mean, just alone, the humidity, the steep rock faces and hills, and it's what is it, the foothill of the Appalachians? Is that what we were in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's thick spots. There's some open, beautiful forests. We've got streams, rivers. It really puts a test to dogs. And so, yeah, I mean, friendship aside, I mean, it helps me understand and learn too what you guys think of those dogs in that environment. And I think anybody, people could send you guys dogs and that could be a business, just because, humidity versus dry heat, elevation, it has so much to offer. I mean, I guess, if there was wild boar and the numbers like you guys have and maybe West Virginia, that could compete with you. But I was humbled by Alabama. So before we kick off anything, thanks for having me. Thanks for whooping my ass out there. I'm slowly going to earn that little honey bucket, like John said.
Yeah. And the crazy thing was we were laughing about it because we were like, that's one of the closest ones that we've had.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
I was happy with it.
But at the same time,
it wasn't easy.
It's not easy.
None of it's easy.
No, not.
It's gonna make you work for it.
Not at that location that we were in. We do have other places like when we went down to John's. It's more flat ground, more river bottoms, but it's very thick and dense
and wet.
Yeah, and wet. Josh, you figured that out.
And think of you told me a story with John about locating a hog and the dogs are on it. It's whatever, 100 degrees or whatever it was, and I'm sitting there just gassed thinking about that down there.
It was only 60.
You can cover ground in the West a lot easier. It's a little more open, unless you're going up and down in some steep mountainous country, but out in the sagebrush or out in those transition zones of pine and sage and maybe agricultural areas in the West, it's so much easier to get to versus, when we started trudging through the damn swamps in there, and it's okay, let's say the dogs catch 300 yards away. It's neck deep briars. I mean, yeah, how fast does a guy move through that?
Yeah, it doesn't. And then you got knee deep water. There's a lot of variables, and it's not every spot.
I got athlete's foot from hanging out with you guys.
I believe you did.
It happens.
Because
Yeah.
when y'all went in that one block, it's an 80-acre block. I mean, I'll say an 80-acre block. It's 80 acres of briars, and then we're on a few thousand acres, and I sat there. It seemed like I sat there forever because I stayed at the truck because a couple of the dogs that we had that hadn't been hunting before, they want to bark or whine or whatever. Want to try to keep them quiet. We had Rick out, and he had a race going on the other side, and then you guys were going in with Pepper and Job and a few other pups, and just going to try to just snag one up. And it was, it was what, 200 yards, a little less than 200 yards. And it seemed like it took y'all forever to get there. And I was like, damn, where did they go?
And yeah, and you're trying to sneak in, but they have the advantage. I mean, I've cut open a boar before, and looking at that shield, that they just blow through all that stuff. It doesn't phase them. For us, we've got to be strategic. We've got to place ourselves and let the dogs do what they're going to do. But if they're not picking them up in there and it's just hammered wet and they're having a hard time, they're already kind of the odds are going to be lower for us. And I mean, I was humbled by we knew they were all around us being smart, squatting on all of us. So
yeah, they which they've got to where they squat really bad. So the last night that we hunted, we put the drone up and we just said, well, we're going to just see what's out here. And
let's just watch the dogs run around and see what happens.
Yeah, let's just see what's going on. And of course, our dogs, they had never seen a drone. And you could tell because they were like, what the fuck is that? No, I'm not doing
What's that up in the sky?
Yeah, and so they just kind of locked down. Well, when you moved out of the way, you're like, okay, I'm going to take it away. Dogs went in there, trailed, got the pigs up, started running them. Well, after we had our race and we had a couple of dogs that went deep, and then was like, well, let's see what's out here. Because you could literally hear pigs moving all through there. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple of different times, like I was trying to kick the little pig. I was trying to just jump on top of them. Because they were so close. And the dogs
they had them all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, too, again, like going back to northern Alabama and versus where we were in those swamps. I mean, we were in extremely thick cutovers and like spots that looked like it was heavily logged, but it's just been growing back all thorny and thick and pokey. And those little piglets just hunker down next to a stump and hold like a little rock.
How far did I walk away from that? That pig had to at least be 125, 150 pound pig. Eminem was baying it. I couldn't see Eminem. I could hear him barking. I could see his green light.
When I got the drone over there to see what was going on, I think you were probably 20 feet maybe from him. Yeah. And you couldn't even see him. Yeah. And Eminem couldn't even see him, but it was, nose was kicking in and I was waiting for this. I remember watching those dogs get out, and I think it was maybe White Boy Rick and those younger dogs that John and you guys had out. And there was one of the larger hogs back in there, and there was 3 dogs working around it, and finally they zeroed in. And it's like right when they zeroed in, it was game on. And watching that hog just burn, 150 yards so quick. And those dogs are all in there trying to pick up scent again now, but not realizing he just burned out of them. People, when you get that kind of data and you see that, I mean, you understand how smart these pigs are and how smart and how confident these and genetically drawn these dogs need to be to do this.
Yes. Well, they have, I know quite a few guys that use the new technology to do guided hunts and to do removal and things like that. And no doubt it's a great thing. It's a great tool to have. I don't feel like it's something that I could really use steadily in what we do because like I want my dogs to have a strong nose and a strong sense of hunt. I want them to have a big hunt drive. I don't want to find any game for them. I want them to find their own game. But at the same time, if you go to a new property, and I drove 2.5, 3 hours, you could put it up, fly it, and be like, okay, yeah, we got hogs that's in such and such areas. blah, blah, blah. It doesn't mean that you have to just walk in there, drop a pin and say, okay, I'm gonna sneak in here and go do it. No, you just know that there's hogs on it. And honestly, I don't see where I would even hunt the same day that I fly.
Yeah,
That's just me. That's me.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. When I got my drone, it was for the understanding that I could now see a dog working in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, like, instead of looking at the Garmin and, dealing with question marks and whatnot, if I started and turn them out to just see what's going to happen, now I get to physically and like, see what's going on. I remember the first time I took Jolene up to West Virginia, I just wanted to see what this young dog was going to do. And I'm thinking she jumped a bunch of deer, but she went out 900 yards. And I was like, dang, I really wish I could have seen what was going on.
Yeah.
But, now we have that technology. We're using that, also do some recovery for people. I kind of want to get into property, scanning properties and doing surveys for different agricultural and hunting properties. But I got it generally just to watch these dogs, and it's fun to see them in real time.
Yeah.
And, if they're 400 yards away, what are they doing? Like, we got a bunch of circles on the Garmin. What does that actually mean?
Yeah. And, that's the thing about it. For like, as long as we've been doing it with some of our dogs, I can tell you exactly, like, okay, this circle, like it throws one big loop, then it goes another, 700 or 800 yards, and throws a little smaller loop. I'm like, well, he's tightening in on him. And then if he gets to where it's 2 or 3 real close together, I'm like, we're fixing to bay right here.
That's
and
right.
I guarantee you, like, it's going to happen. But that's just from the repetition and paying attention, just saying, okay, well, I got to pay attention because I want to be a better dog man. Mm-hmm. Well, having that, dude, like you said, you can see in real time. You be like, well, this dog's making a loop because he's scared. He's scared of the damn hog. He don't want to get too close. He's not closing in on him. He's already got him. He's just scared to get his ass whooped, maybe. You know what I'm saying? These are just things that you could see. Or if you, in my case, I don't know how far some of those drones go. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're going to follow that walker dog I got, you better have one that'll stretch on out there.
Yeah, we're going to need like an Apache for him.
Yeah. What'd you think about old Rick?
Honestly, I thought Rick was a really humbling, cool dog. We've talked about him a few times, but
he's a good dog.
He's special because, like, I think a lot of guys could make a mistake with a dog like him. Honestly, I think a lot of guys that I see in hunting and not to say guys, and just all dogs in general, mm-hmm. They put so much emphasis on controlling the dog. And like Rick is such a special dog because when you let him do it on his terms, he's out there for what how long did we went and sat and had lunch somewhere? He's still working a hog.
Yeah. Like, come back and he was like, we were like,
all right, but put in 26 miles and we're going to go to Sawmill and get some chicken gizzards and have our full Southern experience. You keep running the boar.
Yeah.
That's what we did. To me, this dog, you've allowed him to come into himself. And that kind of experience and getting to know a dog like that's really important. I think a lot of guys, and I've had this problem in the past, man, you start to see the drive of a dog or the instincts and you want to protect them sometimes, or you don't want to fully let them handle it themselves.
Well, if you
notice, you got to let go.
If you notice, what did I tell that first day? I was like, we're not letting him run at all until we've exhausted all these other dogs. Or
he's a Hail Mary.
Yeah, it's like, okay, because when we turn him loose, like, and I'm not
clocking
saying,
we're clocking in.
Yeah, and that's what Nate was saying. Went down there, he did not. Nate was like, I don't want to take him. I was like,
let's try these other dogs first.
We got enough room, we can let him run. So I have to be, and there's people out there listening right now that think I'm bragging. I am not bragging by no. I don't do anything but turn him loose. We feed him and take care of him. He does all the rest. But there are times where that son of a bitch will not. He ain't going to quit. Like he's so far he hasn't. But anyway, it's like, but he will not do what I want him to do. Like if I want to cast him a certain way, what I tell you the other day, boar hog crossed the road. It rained like crazy that night. So we get up. What do? We go down there. It was like, damn, here's a good, and I mean a big old
Here's a
clodhopper.
fresh track for you, bro.
I was like, this looks pretty damn fresh. It's been since it's rained, so it's within, it's within 6 hours. I'm like, I think he can take the track. We put him out. He goes exactly the opposite way, and he piddles around for a little while. Which the 2 other dogs, they go out and they work around. They can't pick nothing up. Then all of a sudden, what does he do? He makes a loop, goes back on the opposite side of the road, strikes. Then he jumps. Mm-hmm. And then 15 minutes later, we're baiting.
Yeah.
But once he got it up and moving, we got to let them cur dogs get to him. And when it's a shorter race like that, if they can get to him and get up there, like the heavy waters and stuff, that was our friend that day.
Yeah.
That boar hog hit those little creeks. Usually they're small streams and they were flooded. So as soon as he hit that water, he couldn't really smoke the dog. So the dogs got a hold of him and, they baited him there. That was a quick race, and considering the day before we had a 30-mile race.
Yeah, I definitely felt lucky. But Rick does his job. And I think that's where it's like when you have a dog like him, you could fail him by trying to contain him too much. Let him be him.
Yep.
And he's going to run it the way he's going to run it. And at this point, he seems, based off what you guys have shown me and shared, like it's predictable in how he works. And so now we know, like, all right, we put you on the ground. You might not run this damn track that's right here, but we know you're desperate to find game. And he works with his innate mind to locate. And once he gets going, I remember hearing him. It was like, how far was he out? I could hear that fool barking at like an eighth of a mile.
No, it was 7/10 that one time. Because I was like, I said, it sounds like he's close. It didn't sound like he was that far. Nate said he's actually 7/10. I was like, for the area that we were in, if he's up higher, a lot of times you can, if we're down low and he's up high, it's harder for us to hear him. If it's vice versa, if we're up high and he's down low, we can hear him better. Unless he's on the opposite side of a ridge, but you can hear him pretty good, for what he is, he does all right.
Yeah. He does great.
I think I don't think he's that great by no means. And the reason I say that is because by himself, I think he's starting to get to where he's a little rougher. He's starting to put teeth on him. Cause I notice he gets little pokes and little cuts now, but with another dog, it's like, it works great. I mean, if he's got a buddy there with him, it's like he changes. He's a whole nother dog. But it's generally hard to find something that'll stick with him. But then when you get to that point to where it's like, okay, well, I've only got this one dog. Like you said, I don't want to just send him out there by himself and get him cut down or get him all hurt. But I know him well enough to say, like, he's not going to. If he's by himself, he's not getting in a bad spot. So that's one reason why I'm like, okay, well, we can leave him and go hunt somewhere else and let him have time to do what he's going to do. And then we can come back whenever he gets it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like him and I love his name. It's so Southern and so him.
Yeah. It's pretty, I don't, it just fits him, It fits him.
That's it. Yeah.
But I think like, we got a couple of little dogs that's doing pretty good. Little Kane, he's just a pup, but like, dude,
he did great.
Yeah, he stays busy. Like we got on one race after we caught that one boar hog, and he was a little over a mile. He stayed with him. He was by himself, and I don't know if he just got outran or if he lost them or what. But I can't complain. Because he's staying out there beating the bushes. It's not like he's coming back. He's just staying out.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Quick thanks to the supporters of the Dixie Doggers podcast.
Light Hounds.
Southern Cross Cut Gear.
Phil Wilson with UC Hunting Properties.
Rankin Ranch 38 Cattle Company.
777 Kennels Advanced Canine Nutrition.
And the old Boars N Broads.
And I think there's that section that got pretty chaotic though too with them when John had to go find some of his dogs who are still rolling out there in the hills, and Kane was out there, and from the signs of it, it looks like there was a large group of hogs that they broke into, not just one.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe with all that chaos and a young dog out there, he's just, like a dog chasing cars sometimes. I'm going to chase it, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it until, but he's figuring that out. Same with my dogs.
Yep.
He lacks a little bit of confidence. Yeah, well, a lot of confidence still, but he's getting it.
Yeah. You can tell that he's trying to pick up a track and run a track, and I think,
and he'll do it.
We all talked about it, like them smelling a track and running it. It's kind of like people driving. Like anybody can drive, no matter their disability, age, or race. But some people are definitely naturally better at driving.
Yes,
and so just with any dog, it seems like some dogs, they can immediately run a track and get to the end of the rainbow, and then other dogs, it seems like they get confused, or I don't know. Well, it's hard to guess because you also can't ask the dog, like, what are you doing? Like my M&M dog, I know he don't get confused. He just gets lazy. After he's done run it like a mile or 2 miles, and that track starts getting hard after he's done crossed about that third or fourth big creek, he's like, hey, let's go find another one, guys. And for a cur dog, that's fine. Whereas like Rick, he's like, let's go to the next county. Like,
we did that.
Yeah, we did.
And the same, and terriers. I think terriers come into that kind of below that cur dog. Honestly, like, I think a lot of guys talk about like, oh, these terriers can, do this and do that. But like realistically, in my opinion, they're very hot nosed. Like I'm not expecting them to just go run game for miles until it's caught. Like I'm expecting them to make quick. They're like little Delta Force jumping in, grabbing a hold. You get there.
That's right.
You're gonna run them on the ground that way. They're not gonna compete with Rick. They're not gonna compete with cur dogs. They're there to put weight in on them and hold on. And if you can get to them, I mean, I kind of liked how that day went with Job. I don't know how far he was from when we let go at the trucks, but we knew we were able to get there later on, and maybe in spots like where that dog Whiskey is down in Texas, like, maybe it's more open. It's good running catch dog country where you guys are. I'm impressed that, you guys have been able to make such nice running catch dogs that will go all over the country.
Oh yeah. If we can make them here, if they'll perform here, I'll put it that way. Let me rephrase that. I ain't gonna say if we can make them here, because I really don't. I don't see where what we do makes a dog. We just get out of their way and let them do whatever they're going to do. We don't restrain them. So it's like, but I want to make sure they're in a good position. If that makes sense, Josh, you know what I'm saying? Like I would, like Job, I feel he's one of the nicer terriers that I've seen, but there's also little things I'm like, he's a little blocky. But he's a hell of an anchor dog. Once he catches, that son of a gun is caught. Do I think he's going to run the hills at 25 miles an hour? Well, no.
No, I wouldn't expect that.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do in that situation is I'm going to stage Job. I'm going to put, a couple of cur dogs, or if I'm going to run some rougher cur dogs, let me rephrase that. If we're talking about running catch dogs, I'm going to run these rougher cur dogs. And as soon as I hear them making any type of contact, that's where I'm going to try to get as close as I can. I'm going to put Job out, or I'm going to get ahead of him and put Job out. Job's going to be the anchor dog. He's going to shut it all the way down. Instead of walking in with a bulldog, you know what I'm saying? Job's going to be my bulldog in that situation. But I'm not going to send him from probably more than 200 at the most, because of the size and the build. That's really, just me.
Yeah, and honestly, looking at Job, and I mean, I know Job's breeder pretty well, Arn Pohlmeyer, and meeting Arn and spending time with him and going to his home, like Job's like kind of in his perception one of the perfect dogs to him, and it's like Arn hunts different country than you guys hunt. Arn is hitting big, large. His favorite thing to hunt's corn, and when there's hogs in the corn, these dogs are ripping through the corn and catching hogs in these agricultural spots in Germany, and it's quick. And it's like they're dumping dogs out and they're making catches, and hogs are squealing and they're packing in all together. And, using him, that's kind of where I see him best fit. He's also kind of from what I've got to evaluate him on, like I kind of would get worried about him if he was far out there and you're not going to get to him in time, because he's holding on. Hope,
Yeah,
he's
he's
from the way he's
exerting.
presented himself, he stays in there. So,
He exerts a lot of energy because
yep.
he's very intense. He really is an intense dog.
And it kind of gets to, it kind of gets to something I've been kind of thinking a lot about in hunting dogs, and a lot about in dogs in general. And I see it all over social media. Dogs just wrecking game, hanging off of pigs, hanging off of like shredding coons, all sorts of game, right? And I think, I was talking to a friend a while back, and to me, there's a difference between fighting till death and hunting dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
with, you want to trace the edges, and these terriers, I think, on both sides of that. Like, I like a dog who is going to really push themselves, but also like at the cost of getting them killed, because, their intentions are to stick with it and I can't get to them. I mean, I just sometimes
Yeah.
feel like there's a difference between hunting and that's where it's like, are you more like the American Pit Bull Terrier? Are you a dog that I just need to walk in? Or
Mm-hmm.
would a dog like Job fit that criteria more for someone who wants to use him that way?
I think he fits that criteria more than just running on the ground.
Yeah.
For me, because like you said, it's also the style that the dog
Mhm.
works. You have certain, like Whiskey. All right, Whiskey is, I forgot what he even weighs, a little over 40 pounds, and I mean he's a nice sized dog. He's got stamina. He pushes hard. He works hard, but like when he catches, it's almost like he would rather fight with it. And for a lot of listeners out there, what I'm talking about is you see a good game dog goes in there, grabs a hog, and he just hits it one time and he's caught. That's not what I'm talking about. That's catching. That's hooked. What I'm talking about is he might go in there and grab it and let it spin around and grab it again, then move around, and he's fighting with it, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And those dogs are fine in the pack side of things if you have more than one, or actually you would want about 4. So you got to be careful when you put those things in the mix, because if you got dogs that don't commit 100%, you could end up getting hurt. Your other dogs could end up getting hurt. There's a whole multitude of things that can happen. So you always need that one anchor dog for sure, one that's really going to hammer it. And I feel like
Exactly.
these that are coming up, a Grinch definitely is a hammer. Like we turned him loose this weekend, his first time on one in the woods, and he had no problem. No problems at
Yeah,
all.
it's nice to see him just make initial contact, and it just all genetically makes sense to the dog.
Yes. He never checked up. He's never seen an actual bay or anything like that. So, I was very happy with that.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I'm glad you guys got him. I know you like those rougher coat dogs, and where I am with you guys is, I want you guys, if you're part of this, and I want to make sure that the dogs that you get out of this are dogs you're proud of, and dogs that exceed, hopefully will exceed, and if not meet your standards and expectations. And for me, and where I am with it, I was actually going to say this, and this is kind of going off the path for a second, but a bull terrier friend of mine who, I mean, he likes to kind of keep to himself. I think maybe a year or two ago, me and him are talking, and this kind of stuck with me. And before I even, we get farther into this podcast and all the debate, and, it's a privilege of having these dogs and being able to do this. And I just want to recognize at the beginning of all of this, and anyone listening, before hunting, before handling, for all this crap, I pride myself on being a keeper of these dogs before anything. I spend a lot of time every day with these dogs, with my friends, and going through them and, managing them in a way they deserve, and giving them time to show versus rushing, trying not to cut corners. And I feel like, in this day and age, we've got a lot of people talking about hunting dogs and a lot of people handling dogs. And I hope that, we can all agree on there should be zero opinions or conversations if we can't even keep these dogs the way they deserve. And so, we really pride that at our program, and it's easy to get caught up and write them off sometimes as just hunting dogs, because I think, you get dogs like, Grinch, like, I mean, he's a special dog to me. Like he came out in a lot of ways that I like, and he still has a long way to go. But, there's a lot of feeding and a lot of time just waiting, to get to that first bay to see what he's going to do. And a lot of effort just to keep a dog before we get there.
Yes. And
so that's one thing I kind of want to note.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because, like, see, that was the issue that I had, going right back to, like you said, first and foremost, before you and I became friends, like you inquired to me about the style of the Americanized version of the Heide Terrier that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't even talk.
Yeah, like, you're smart.
I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And dude,
don't talk ever.
Yeah, I did that with so many people, and I seen it happen with the American Pit Bull Terrier. I seen it go from the greatest breed ever to where it was polluted because somebody just wanted to breed this and that, or they wanted to say, hey, look at me, I got this or that. And I don't mean it's not directed toward anybody. That's just how it was. And then when I got into the terriers, the York Terriers, and the Patterdales as well, it got to the same thing. I mean, the first, I guess probably 8 years to 10 years, man, the first 5 years, I had the hardest dogs that I've ever seen. Like, they were phenomenal. And then I noticed, like, when we started having all these organizations and these get-togethers and these clubs, and I was involved in them, and I still am. I made some of my best friends ever through the American Hunt Terrier Club,
Yeah.
But at the same time, there were excuses made for these dogs, not allowances, but excuses, because of whatever reason. I don't know the reason behind a lot of it, but it was like I seen this breed diminish.
And I think, and I'm new to this. Like, hey, but I choose learning without fear of judgment and ways. And the thing is this, like, behind what I do and how I work, I have worked hard at building strong relationships with the guys who have built these dogs for so long. Mm-hmm. And I've got, guys I would consider good friends, almost family-like. And I have one in particular who's a breeding mentor. He's made many nice dogs. I've got to hunt his dogs with him. And, he developed his own program in Lithuania. He was the start of these terriers in Lithuania, and he's doing kind of he's done what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And, he went and picked through German lines. And, this guy came from the Doberman community. He gets into it real deep with, science and all. Like, it's not just let's throw these together and see what we get. He's really about predictability. And I think dog breeding sometimes can just look at as like this constant gamble. But once you start to understand lines of dogs, you can start to get predictability in ways. Mm-hmm. And, there's a genetic law to follow. There's a reason why we, inbreed or line breed, and the different stages of all of that, and what we're looking for and what we can, looking at the risk versus the benefit in that. And when he went to do this, he had made some dogs that worked out great, some okay dogs, and he's been able to hone and make nice dogs from here on out. But again, like what you're saying with pit bull terriers, other breeds, like there's going to be people who get in the way of that, who have a primitive understanding or knowledge of dog breeding, and they don't really sometimes understand that their actions can be very harmful, and then it takes a lot of time to fix those mistakes. When eventually, like, let's look at like pit bulls, maybe, or the hides, or any terrier, you get that dark spot on them, and it's hard to remove once they start to gain a different type of reputation. Mm-hmm. Right now, when I go and bring dogs in Europe, using the word terrier freaks everybody out at the airline. I've got to pull dogs out. I got to show them that I can grab these dogs on the ear, do anything. They're not dogs that are trying to fight each other. The word terrier has made such a wrap around the world, you know, and parts of Europe, you can't own pit bulls. You can't own certain dogs. And, you know, I think when people get into dogs, they should really think about the consequences of when you're just making choices, whether it's, you know, I think the greatest evil is jealousy. And sometimes we get in it for ourselves. We're not really doing it for this. And we cut corners, or we just want to, it's about us and it's not about them. And once you get into that way, like, man, I've changed my whole life for this. I love these dogs. I love the people I've met in these dogs. Definitely there's been some, you know, hurdles and people I've had to deal with along the way, but you'll never see me throwing my name all over these dogs like I just reinvented the wheel.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here to, you know, I really believe in what they've done in Germany and Lithuania, and I want to see these dogs become the next great breed of hunting dogs, and I want to do it right.
No, I feel you, because like they definitely have the qualities to do it. Not just these in particular, not just a certain dog, but these lines of dogs and this breed in its entirety. If it doesn't get all mangled and muddled with just breeding to whoever and whatever, just because they have something that looks similar. That female Muka that you brought, I've had Yog Terriers that were just as big as her, and she looks like a Yog Terrier. So all I would have to say is, hey, this is a Dixieland bitch that I own.
Yeah.
And people could just go off of that. You know, you say, when we get down, it's like, just because you say it is doesn't mean it is. And I've had people, I've got slandered and dogged out and drugged down and blah, blah, blah. But yet some of the same guys that are doing all that shit, they sure didn't mind breeding my stuff into theirs. You know?
Exactly.
And
you know,
but at the same time, you got to be a keeper of the flame, you know, and it's a hard thing to do. But like at the same time, I do feel like there's enough good dogs here right now that, you know, we could definitely elaborate on a few more. It just takes a little time, and that's the thing. People don't want to wait.
No,
you got to give, and you know, I've told you this, you know, when we first, I was like, look, it just, because you asked, you were like, well, what about this dog? What about that dog? And I'm like, well, they're doing this, this, and this right now, and it's aggravating, or I don't like it, or blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's like, it just takes time. Next year, they won't be doing this. They'll grow up and they'll quit. You know, and if they are doing it, then we would do something different. And I think with like I got that little Herman dog. Love that dog, dude. Love him. Little bastard hunts like crazy, but he's little. Like I mean, he's little. You seen him?
And that's where I come into play with, like, I feel like I'm such a hard critic, and I get that from my line of work, being in, you know, the production field, brands and content, and it comes down to, you know, what is and what's not. Like hunt is a non-negotiable for me in this. If they don't hunt, nothing else matters. But if hunt is there, the conversation gets deeper. And then we've got to evaluate, you know, through the aesthetic, like all the different traits of the dog. And that's what I think is, and what they're working hard at in Europe to do. And I think, you know, maybe when we've talked before, like, to the guys, and no slander or hate towards anyone with their own type of dogs that they've made based off of the Heide Terrier, but I think that's where I saw the inconsistency in America. It was, you know, we all get that the hunt is non-negotiable, but the uniformity of what you're building, and sometimes it's not as easy for some, I guess, but that's why I really wanted to go there and start with dogs who kind of had that whole picture, and now we can evaluate and rigorously go through them.
See, because that's what I always had in mind of when I first looked into these. And it wasn't because I found them or none of that. Clay Austin, Aaron Schenkel, Roger Wright, and Adam Brown, all these guys we were all hunting together, and they were a tighter knit group. And I was kind of off to the side a little more. I hunted with them a lot. Actually, they're Dwayne Headley and all them. They're the ones that got me started hunting on hogs and terriers. Well, so when I get into something, I really delve into it, and so I had a certain look in mind. I was like, well, this is the picture that I first seen of the Heide Terrier. So, and I have a picture in mind when I want to see one. Cisco is what I see.
Yeah.
And so I say the only difference would be is the one I pictured, the very first one had a little more tan. It's a little lighter where Cisco has the darker brindle. But anyway, so it was like, okay, so when I'm building mine, when I'm making the dogs I want to make, hunt is the first and foremost thing. Then I had to have sensibility. Well, then I needed the aesthetics. And I showed you the pictures of the first couple of litters, and I was like, these things were crazy looking, so they weren't consistent. But by the last few years, the last couple of litters, I showed you those as well. And it's like they all had a particular look.
And then when you start to get away from that first cross, and then you start to get some generations out, things start to make, the whole picture starts to come together. And I've learned a little bit of this and from guys who, started at the beginning and went and selected dogs. And I think that's one of the biggest things about Heide Terriers. It's not a cookbook. Like when you're starting a dog, like I think some people say, oh, they read them online. They've got York Terrier, Airedale, English Bull Terrier. There's other dogs in that, Irish Terrier, and some dogs have Alano blood and different bull types. But you make that first cross, and it's not, the genetic variability can kind of be all over the place. I mean, sometimes because it is genetics, it's a gamble of dice. You somehow got a bunch of great dogs. There's guys who have had accidental breedings before, and it's like, okay, the two random dogs produce something really, a genetic treasure. But in these sake, for these dogs, I know a lot of the men who started this and where they started to even consider a Heide Terrier, it was, I want to say, over 4 or 5 generations. Like they really had to hone in on type because they were getting differences all across the board. Maybe you breed the York Terrier to the Airedale, and one really comes out with that phenotype and that drive, and that's those search habits and the whole picture. Now you carry one pup out of that breeding. Maybe the other ones are kind of all over the place,
I used to tell everybody it took me 6. And I wasn't just telling them that, but it took me 6 breedings, 6 generations to get.
That's so much work too, right? Think about that.
It was 10 solid years. 10 solid years. It wasn't like I just
10
bred
years
2
of your life are gone.
10 solid years. And I'm talking about nonstop. And it wasn't just me. I was working with other guys, and some of those guys would call and be like, hey man, found some good Airedales, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, okay, well, I've got this over here already bred up. We'll cross it to this. We'll check this out. Well, blah, blah, blah. It's nonstop and so hard to do by yourself when you come home and you have 75 dogs on the yard. And you know what I'm saying? And you got to keep all this straight. There's a book in there in the house that's just full of all the breedings and all the history that I've done. And so the guys in Germany and Lithuania that are doing this, that have carried on the line since Heinrich and Carl started all this stuff years ago, they've carried on these lines for 40 plus years. So it's like, don't slander what they've done just by crossing a bunch of fucking mutts up.
Yeah. And,
just because you like it.
And that's a thing kind of which I've noticed in, I mean, let's just look at dogs coming to America in general. There kind of seems to be this common theme, and I love America, by the way. This is not an attack on Americans or dog hunters or enthusiasts at all, but I think sometimes dogs make it here, and we kind of look at them as like, they're going to be ours now. We're going to make the best ones. And, that's not what I'm here for. Like I want global recognition with the ones that are there. I've got to, I attended some of the hunts I've been on. I'm very lucky and fortunate to go to. I missed a flight in Frankfurt, and I was supposed to be in Lithuania the next morning, and I was told we were just going on a hunt with dogs. Well, little did I know there was an orchestrated 277 rifle hunt, the largest one in their history. It was a big old surprise, and my friend Sylvanus didn't want to tell me everything until I told him I missed my flight. And so we're, renting a car and 15 hours through to get there, driving up through northern Germany into Poland, through Warsaw into Lithuania, and getting to able to see. And there was only Heide Terriers at that hunt. It was orchestrated by my friend Sylvanus,
Wow,
and
that's great.
he was the club owner of the Heide Terriers in Lithuania. He made sure every dog there was only a Heide, and you got 50 of them to look at, and it was cool to kind of see. You could tell which dogs were more uniform, which ones maybe stuck out, but to see them hunt and how he hunts. I remember Sylvanus sent me videos, and when I first met him, and I was like, all right, this shit doesn't lie, like you've got dogs hanging off moose, you've got dogs catching badger in these fields. He's got stories of on these drives, a wolf ran in on a dog and caught him by the vest, and luckily had cut gear on and was able to survive it. And other dogs are in there driving gunshots, but they take a lot of pride in these dogs. And I think as Americans, we know we're so free and we hunt, and we've made great hunting dogs and great dogs in general, but by no means it doesn't look good to just say, hey, we're going to make them ours now. Like, if there's a respect to this game, and a lot of hunting tradition and a lot of dogs, came out of Europe. And
Yeah,
so the last thing I want to do is be the next guy who takes a breed or takes a new upcoming breed and just tanks on it.
Yep. And that was the biggest fear I had, coming from somebody who was I tried to get some of the dogs like you're getting now. That was my original intent, but of course 20 years ago it was a little different.
Yeah.
It was, a lot of people weren't as open and accepting. And so I did it more out of like, look, I need a dog like this to work for me. And so it's like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And for a long time, I never said anything. I just bred dogs and was hunting them. And then once the word got out, and I was like, yeah, I've got same style dogs, that type of dog. And, showed a couple of them, and like we actually have went to actual dog shows, and we have smoked everybody. Like that king dog I had, like he ribboned out 17 different times in one show, and everybody's like, I don't even know what kind of dog this is. It's like just a hog dog.
It all came together, and that's.
But he was
I like
really
that
great
king
for
dog
certain things.
and what you've told me about him, and and that's kind of also the thing too in a program. Like imagine if he was still around
now. But also imagine those guys are producing several dogs like him.
Yeah,
a lot of dogs like him. It was a damn work of. I ain't gonna say a life's work, but a lot of work to produce about 4 or 5 of him, of that similar dog. I couldn't imagine doing it for 30 or 40 years without having some help, or without putting them in the right hands.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue that I ran into was if I sent one to somebody, usually they didn't make it very long, and I've only sent out just 3 or 4. But I tried it with several different dogs here local with people that I knew. First thing they did was want to breed them. And I'm like, guys, look, we're not doing a puppy mill thing. We're trying to make sure that these dogs are what we want and what they're supposed to be before we're going to do breedings for us, but we're not breeding to sell.
Yeah.
And some of them didn't catch a hold of that. So I was like, I just got my dog back, moved on. Or, I was like, well, I just didn't do any more dealings with them. And I feel like that's a lot. You deal with that a lot.
Yeah, and everyone's going to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to deal with that in any breed?
I've kind of traced into some of that. And I think in the end, it's like, for what I do, I treat these dogs, when I make money on these dogs, it's like a damn stimulus check. That thing's going right back into the economy. Um,
Yeah.
these,
Well, I mean,
I
how many
sort of
times you
roll it
been to
right back in.
Germany?
God, I want to say like 6 times now.
All right.
It's been many times, and there's also like people don't realize this, like and things I don't talk about, and I will talk about them because I think that needs to be
It
transparent.
needs to
But
be said.
how about putting 6 grand into a dog that never hunted? How do you think that feels?
Yeah.
Or, you know, going and you're showing up to a breeding, there's potential there, and you go to see the dog you're going to get, and it's not the dog you wanted to get. It's, they're playing you, or they're trying to sell you the lesser of what they have. And here is, I would, I'm not asking anyone to take advice from me, but if you're going to get into importing dogs, I'm just going to say this, maybe it's overconfident, but you're kind of a fool if you're going to import dogs and not go meet and see people. Because if you think they're going to give you the best they got and send that over not knowing you,
Yep.
you have got a banner over your head saying, we'll take what you don't want.
That's exactly right.
And what happens is this, then the guy spends, like what I've done. I could have spent 6K on that dog, and she came from a great line of dogs. Like her line's in my dogs, but she doesn't hunt. And that's okay to have these mistakes happen, but I worry that a lot of people have to retain that money. And once they import that Serbian, Yak Terrier and the so and so, champion or whatever it is, never met the person, never saw the dogs, never saw the generations of dogs behind it, and they've got all this money rolled in. It's getting bred, and you could be overlapping all sorts of different problems there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I kind of feel like, with me and with the people I work with. You guys have met Heidi, you haven't met my friend Kelly. I work with people, and they keep it honest. We all do. And I don't want to force anything. I have dogs that I've gone and seen their parents and grandparents, if they're still alive, and gotten to know these breeders on a close friend, family like level. Sleeping. I'm lucky to. I don't. I go there, and I don't always have to, rent a hotel. I stay in a little village somewhere with these people, and I see dogs, and I hunt with their dogs, and I pull out Google Translator, and I'm working my ass off to understand. And I just could never do it the way of importing dogs blind and then letting papers and all that speak. Papers matter, but like papers matter when the dog's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
I don't.
if you don't know the breeder, you don't know if those
Yeah,
papers are good either.
that's the thing. I had a guy, and it's not. We're not going to go too far into it, but my biggest thing is when I put dogs out, first thing I say is, hey, like, going forward, like, I don't offer papers. This isn't a cash cow. You're not. A lot of people look at these as like, I've never seen a terrier like this. Wow, they're so damn good looking. Yada yada yada. It's scarce. Scarcity adds value. Can this, what can this bring me? Oh man, I'm more in the hole than I am, like, my photo jobs and my other things I do keep me afloat. Not importing dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Not. I just liked it, and when I came across him, it just spoke to me, and I felt like, life's either too short or too damn long to not do something that is calling you in a way. And that's why I'm doing this. I don't know if this is forever, but for right now, it's fun. I enjoy it. I love the dogs. Dogs seem to like me quite a bit, and I've made a lot of unique friends. I mean, look at fate has brought us all here together right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't expect that. So
I didn't either, like, at all. And honestly, I got to say, thank you to Roy for, when I talked with Roy down there at Uncle Earl's, and I got to see Adolph, I was like, man, and he's an extremely good looking dog.
he's a good dog.
I don't know of many dogs that look any better than him. I haven't hunted with him, so I don't know that part of it. I know
I
Roy's
think
hunting.
Cisco might look better than him, but that's just me.
No, I think
I love that
Cisco.
dog.
I think Cisco looks better than probably any. I don't know.
He's a
I don't know. I
hard
love the
dog to like.
female. I
The
love
the female. I was going to
The
say
female was
Mooka
my
is.
favorite because
She looks.
Luca's a
but
pretty dog, and now that's
Cisco's got
Adolf's grandmother.
pizzazz.
Oh yeah, he's got pizzazz.
Cisco steps out, and like I thought, I was like,
The
he's a
female
show
just looks
dog.
like a giant, slightly broken coat Yog Terrier.
Yeah.
Like so, that's why I love her.
She
looks like some of the real early stuff that we had.
Yeah, we
And
had a lot of the Waka Mule stuff, and it
then
was pretty badass.
Yeah, so she reminds me of several big jags that we had,
Mhm.
and then several bird jags we had. I don't know. She looked kind of like 4 or 5 different dogs that I grew up with, so I really really like that dog.
But no, like this. Yeah, but what I was saying, though, like Roy, like having Adolf and putting us all together, you know, I really forever indebted into him, you know, because at one time I was like, and then when he started talking about all the things that you've done, I was like, well, I've kind of paid attention to some of it, and then, you know, that's when I was like, okay, so we started talking, and you know, I just wanted to bring that up, and
we were all skeptical of each other. I mean, that's just how this is all how it works in dogs. You know,
you
enough
have to be.
people.
I think
You got to.
And then after talking with Roy, I had went and I was doing some reading online, and I seen that you had done the English translation, and I was like, huh, okay, Josh is in this. He's in this.
And then when you sent it, when Nate showed it, he was like, "Look, Dad, did you write this?"
Yeah, and I was like,
And
I said, read
exactly
this.
what I said.
I said, we're all on the same page. We're all trying to do the same thing. I was like, there's no reason this shouldn't work.
Yeah,
I
mean,
and
it can
Arn's
work.
awesome. I'll help any of those breeders anytime they need anything from me. You know, I just sent a female back. I sent the mother of Adolf back to Europe for different and various reasons. But I will say, like, in Arn's opinion, that is the perfect dog to him. That dog is built for war. She is going to run through the corn. Another thing is this, like, let's talk about programs where, you know, accidents happen, especially in hog dogs, and I'm not there yet. You guys have gone through it. Other guys have gone through it. Arn has gone through it. That dog I sent him goes back to stuff that's no longer alive. And I had it here. And the fact, you know, I sent her over there and I missed that dog. She was a rough dog. And I mean, like, we joked about it before, the 2x4 tough, and anything could happen to this dog. And she'd look at you and be like, we're best friends still. It don't matter. You know, and I do value that, but she's a rough-handled dog, and she's back in Germany, and that's kind of the level of the program we're at right now. It's like, if a guy that's helped me so much, if one of those guys needs to use one of my dogs that I've gotten from them, that is their dog. I will give them access to that dog some way, somehow, because that's what you do. I think
I
when,
agree.
you know, if I want to breed to a dog of mine, you know, or something down the road, or you guys too, if you've made something great, it should be a respect and etiquette in the dog community. It's not, you know.
The way I feel about it is, like, the dogs that I have here, that me, you know, and I say I have, you know, Nate and I, Dixie Doggers, the dogs that we have here, these are your dogs that you produced from dogs that were produced by other individuals.
Yeah, they're not, like, I mean it, like, you know,
they're not my dogs. They're not Dixie Dogger Heide Terriers.
Same here. They're not, you know, they're not Josh Neff Heide Terriers.
No,
this is Heide Terrier USA. We're putting dogs of all different lines and looking at overlap and different selections.
Yes, we can see if we can make a good selection. And you know, I feel like if we all do that, we stick to, you know, if we stick to it and we can work dogs and see what happens and be honest. First thing we got to do is all be honest with ourselves. We got to be honest with ourselves. Then we got to be honest with each other. Because if you lie to yourself, then you can never be honest with anybody. So we got to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, am I doing this for this reason or that reason or whatever? And the first and foremost reason is for the dog. For us, like, it's without a doubt for the dog. And, you know, like you asked about some of my Yog Terriers, you're like, hey, what you still have, you know, where'd they go? Well, I let somebody else take them so I could have this because I told you that's what I would do. I needed to make some room for the program, and I had some that were older dogs, and I let another guy have them and take them and enjoy them. I mean, I still have access to them. If I want to go get them or breed to them, all I got to do is make a phone call. But
Exactly.
at the same time, those are Dixieland dogs. And Dixieland was a line of dogs that was started by Scott Alls years and years and years ago. He gave me the name, said, here, take it, register. I have never, ever, ever registered a dog under that name. And so therefore, they're all the same bloodline. I ain't registered a dog yet. And I will not. You know why? Because they're not mine. It's not my bloodline. I'm the keeper of that bloodline.
And that's kind of where I am with these dogs right now. You know, like, you guys never got any papers when I bring dogs, and I have papers of every dog I've got. But I'll say this, like, I want to keep it honest. If if a dog comes out and it's not working well, like, I don't want it to go get passed around with papers and, bred and used, because it, and guys who come to me wanting to get in on this and to have a dog and, enjoy these dogs, like, it's not a cash cow. This is for the love of dogs, man. Like, and if we do it honest, like you said, and we work together, we can exceed we can do this, we can win. But if we start letting go and people start going their own way, this already happened in Europe. A lot of great dogs did come from the start, and then other breeders started to do their own. I know different kennels and, that have made different style dogs, and certain dogs are ruled out of certain breedings, in certain clubs. But for me, I go back to the beginning of who got original dogs and where did they go. And I see through some of the lines there, I will say, and some of the different breeders there, the credit's not always given where it's due. One thing you look at, and I love Arn about, is Arn makes rough dogs, but, Arn's been kind of, screwed in ways where people have used his dogs and never put the name of his dogs in their pedigrees. It might just say Spanish dog for some reason. They're trying to pass it off as a Lano or, but it came from Arn. And that's the thing, like, if we all work together and we don't get all petty and all that, like, we're going to succeed in making something that goes along with what was started there.
Yeah.
But we'll have it here. We'll have it be able to test it on all sorts of different land.
Mm-hmm. See, when I first I ain't gonna say when I first got into it, but I've been into it for several years, and there was a couple of guys in Florida, and they had inquired, and I was like, man, this next breeding, I said, let me get it took care of. I said, and I'll pick you out something and I'll send it to you. So in the meantime, they go get a bull terrier and a yog terrier, and they already had a litter of those, and then they breed it to a blackmouth cur, and that was their Heide Terrier. And then they done it to a bird dog, and that was a Heide Terrier. And I was like, no, but at the same time, is it? Because it was never a formulated breed, when it first started.
Yeah, we can start to nerd out on this, and I've explored this in many ways.
And that's crazy. So I go with whatever the original guys. Who started it? What were they looking for? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, we can change it at any given time. All we got to do is just do it. That's how easy that shit is. But at the same time, if you want to stick to it and be a grown man about it and say, okay, this is what the original deal was. This is what it was started for. These were the characteristics, the traits, and all the things that they were looking for. This is what the dog was made for. This is how they wanted to hunt. This is the size, the coat, the whole 9 yards. That's what we need to look at, not how many can we breed.
Exactly.
We need to look at the quality of the few that come out of it.
Yeah, and I think too, like, looking at any start of any dog breed, rootstock can kind of get a little messy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think dog men are known for putting something in and maybe not talking about it sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, let's look at, if there's a reason why. And I learned this in my field of design and stuff. I put things together for companies using certain typefaces and whatnot. I'm not just putting it in there because, it looked good, it was great. Like, why do we do this? Like, asking yourself that. And I've I've kind of gone through this whole history hard on trying to figure out why certain dogs are here, why Irish Terrier was here, Bull Terrier. You know, when I got into these dogs and I started doing this on a more serious level here, if someone reached out, I wanted to be able to answer that question honestly. I think, you know, I like the Alano dogs that are in there. I do. I think sometimes, and maybe you could talk on this more because of your experience in English Bull Terriers and Airedales, but you know, it seems like from my understanding and what I've learned, those gene pools of Airedales and really working English Bull Terriers with substance isn't there. There's not a lot of them, right? Like
it's a niche group. You have to know somebody. That's what I've learned. And it's like anything else. You got guys that, like me, they're assholes, and they're like, no, I don't want to talk to you about it because I don't want you to get it and exploit it and ruin all the things that I've worked for. And at the same time, though, if you do get somebody that'll open up and be like, yeah, and then generally they'll send you a good dog, and they're open and free-hearted about it, and they'll help you in any way they can. But the gene pool is a lot smaller. But at the same time, and just my thoughts on this, I would rather have the Bull Terrier type or the Airedale. I would take the Airedale type over all of them any day because, like, you can utilize that dog for many, many things. The Alano, I mean, it's, you know, it's still, it was started out more as a boarhound, you know, a catch dog.
Yeah.
You could, you know, you guarded your castles with them. But what's the hunt like? The hunt overseas is totally different than the hunt that we have here. You see what I'm saying? So over there, running through the corn, that's phenomenal. You could take a big brute and just run through there until he gets hot and he's got to take a break. Here, a big brute is going to have a heart attack and die on the second ridge when it's 110 degrees. You know?
And I won't be there.
Yeah. But you see what I'm getting at? It's like, so the way I look at it is it's
yeah.
I wanted mine to have more of the Airedale type because of that.
I think like, that's where that,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's where that fluctuation comes through. And I think some guys get confused when they look at these dogs because some people and a hunter will lean on preference of how they like the dog to work and how they like the dog to look. And I know from, you know, the guys I work with and the men I hunt with, Sylvinus, Ingo, Arn, Sebastian, different guys, we all lean a lot towards the Yak Terrier. In the beginning, a lot of these dogs were, from my understanding and what I've learned, it was built off the Germans' beloved versatile hunting Yak Terrier. And in the end, like, you know, they were looking for something a little more hard mouth, but still with that drive that when it go down holes that would run sounders of hogs and drive game and get those squatted ones and recover, you know, deer and all of the above. But what I've noticed in the ones I like, and I think the ones that you look at and you say, hey, that's a good looking dog, you know, those are holding, if you break down their the breeds in them, you know, if we're trusting Embark for sake today, we're looking at more Yak Terrier blood, and then we kind of go into 20 to 25% in that, maybe that Airedale or that Irish type dog, and then 20% into the bull type. Yeah, some guys like less bull type.
And see, me, I wanted 50% Airedale, and then break the rest up in the Yak Terrier and the bull type. And I've had people, they're like, well, all you're doing is running Airedales. No, I'm not. That's not a full-blooded Airedale. I've got some giant Airedales over here that are way bigger. They don't look anything like this dog. But they are taller, and they're a little leggier, and they're built a little different than what some of the other dogs I've seen that were imported from Germany, the Heide Terrier types, or the Heide Terrier breed. And then I seen a few different ones from some other guys, and I was like, well, they look very similar to the ones I have, but mine were always a little bigger. I always used a female Airedale every time.
Mhm.
If I had a 50-50 cross, if I had an F1 bull terrier, yog terrier cross, I would put it to a female Airedale.
Yeah, and I think too, like when you're looking at that, and my biggest thing is too, because I kind of, I'll be honest, I worry that, people will see what we have or see what these dogs and they think they're gonna hop in and just start batching these up because
That's not
this is
how
a
it works.
cookbook. And that's what I want to really emphasize on. It's like if you're gonna go that route, every dog individually needs to be something great. When
If you're
you're
gonna,
starting from the scratch, every one of those better be 10 out of 10,
you
best Airedale, best.
you better have $100,000 in 10 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, and that's what, like
Like, I mean,
I
it
learned
costs
from then.
money.
And right now, like there's a difference between a proven dog, proven line of dogs, um, and I go to select dogs from proven lines. I don't
Mm,
care really about the one individual dog who came from just a pairing of two. Like I'm looking at overlap. I've got a list of dogs, and I've sat with many people and talked names of dogs that were started in this program, dogs that are dead, dogs that are still here,
mm,
which ones are producing, which ones, are known for certain qualities. And that list isn't very long, but that from my understanding and what I work with my friend in Lithuania, it's take that list, find the best representatives of those dogs that are going to, you're going to have to evaluate them, but overlap on those dogs. They were all great dogs. They all hunted great. That's why we have these dogs.
mm.
And so that's kind of where I am in it. And I can't imagine starting from scratch, going through Airedales and going through Bull Terriers and going through York Terriers and looking for, you know, strong individuals of each, because I think many just say this Airedale's all right and that York
Yeah,
Terrier is all right. That Bull Terrier's hard as hell. Let's put them all together.
you can't do that. Like, you had to, like, I literally went through proven lines and still got pups or young dogs, raised them, evaluated them till they were 2 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them. It wasn't like I
And
just grabbed something off the side of the road and bred. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize as well to people out there, because like you said, there's, well, I can do that, I can do that. Yes, you can. You can. If you do it correctly, take your time, you could possibly produce something. But at the same time, the gene pool is so small. I bred myself out. Like, I was to the point where I was like, okay, I don't even know where any other dogs are.
mm-hmm.
I done bought all of them. And it was like there was days where you come home and I've got 20 Airedales out here, and I've got 30 Yog Terriers, and I've got several different Bull Terriers, and it's like I got all these fantastic dogs, and all I'm doing is wanting to just make one other one. Just, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like it's to the point of insanity. Where at this day and age now, where you do like you did, you know, you invest your time and money, you fly over there, you hunt with the dogs, you hunt with the guys who produce them, who have bred them and raised them. You can get the same type dog, probably even a better dog than you can make, you know,
That's
especially
where I'm
within
at.
the first few years, without a doubt.
If you invest it the right way, and this, you can take this knowledge and apply it to any dog. Let's say you want to go get cur dogs or
Mm-hmm.
whatever breed, if you go and you really research and you see them and you hunt them and, and you get the right ones and you understand, how to use them. I think that's the toughest part too. It's not just the hunting. It's combinations can be made. It's not. And my friend Zilvinus has a degree in sinology, like his life has been committed to the understanding of dog breeding and producing and it's what he does. And so, a lot of failure to get to that point to be able to predict and
Mm-hmm.
have that probability come out. But, that's why Damon, and I'm very protective of Damon. I didn't bring Damon out. And I will be honest, like I thought Damon's a dog I don't want to lose yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've evaluated him in different situations. Man, you guys know I've got welded hog pen. I had to get on YouTube and learn all that and figure things out and put some bay dogs in there. and mess around. But
Mm-hmm.
we're to see where dogs are with game, you got to have game in them constantly. If you're going to risk getting them killed, Damon's a guy I don't want to risk with that yet. But Damon's genetics are strong. He's comes from a complex inbreeding where it was risky, where you take a dog close and you risk getting all the worst qualities. But
Or you
Damon
fix
is
all the
special.
bad qualities.
Yeah, and Damon is special to me because he shows so many qualities I love and so many qualities Sylvanus loves. And, he was very confident about that dog. And after hunting with him and seeing all his dogs, I would have started moving money around and I want that dog and that dog, because it was really incredible. I've got videos of his dogs handling red stag that aren't too injured. They're standing up and they're fighting dogs, and they're holding on for all they've got, and they're able to get to them.
Yeah, those are big animals.
And shoot them with a 30-06 and that kind of hunting. And they evaluate dogs differently than the Germans do. The Germans, I think, focus a lot on right now driven hunts, and the Yak Terriers, the original short hairs and wire hairs, they're all versatile dogs. They could do everything. And in Lithuania, he focuses a lot on recovery, a lot on drive hunting, predator work. They have some that they put into some oversized beaver lodges and they flush the beavers out. Stuff like that. I'm not really doing that, but I evaluate them on predatory game like raccoons. It's different here in the South. I've left the West and I'm in the South, and you don't have thousands and millions of acres of sagebrush to go out every day. And when I started this, it was like I was telling you guys, I lived on a remote ranch. I would hunt 4 days a week. I worked for the state of Oregon. I would bring dogs in the back of the pickup. I'd work my shift, get off, and then we would go hunting on these places, these private ranches, and call coyotes. And that's where I started them. But where we are now, it's a whole different game, and I'm putting dogs in the hands of people and like you guys and a few others, and selling dogs here and there to see how they work and evaluating. And I think, I look at that first breeding, man, like we've come a long way from that, I think, and where we're going. And, that was kind of an F1 cross too. I mean, yes, they're dogs in the German program, but 2 foreign lines together.
Yeah.
And kind of right now where I am is tracing overlap, trying to get the good genetics stacked up and hope that it all comes together.
Yeah, the way you're doing it with that, I had a guy ask me not long ago about that. He was like, "What is it even an F1 if it's still the same?" If this involved like Kimmer cur and Catahoula cur, I was like, "Yeah, it's still F1." I was like, "It's two different breeds." He was like, "Well, they're cur dogs." I said, "That's a type dog, That's the type of dog it is." I said, "Even if you were going with two totally separate lines of dogs, it's still an F1 type dog." For me, what I'm thinking, I'm not a geneticist or none of that. I'm just a dumbass country boy that likes to mess with dogs, likes to run dogs and try to figure it out, as I go along. And I've got lucky. I really have. I've got lucky a lot, I guess you'd say,
Yeah. And I think that matters.
I do too. Over the course of all these years, no matter what breed, we're going to produce good ones. And it's going to get to a point to where I'm going to be at 70%, and that's what I really strive to be. I'd like to have 100%, of course. And I've got these last couple litters that we've done on the cur dogs. We're probably at 90% right now. And they're over a year old. So it's looking good. It could all fall to shit tomorrow,
You kind of know some backgrounds of some dogs from me, but I mean, theoretically, if you buy 4 dogs from a breeding and 3 turn out good, that's pretty good odds.
Very good odds.
If I would do that shit all day long in Europe if that were my odds, but I'm, putting a lot of money into just one dog to get here. And right now I'm actually not chasing sometimes pups as hard as I'm going to trusted individuals I've created friendships with, and now looking to buy their proven stock, and
Mhm.
that's not easy to do. You know, I'm grateful for my friends who are involved with this with me, and you know, because it does take sometimes. I know it sounds silly, but like, yeah, you got to get lucky, but also, and it sounds so dumb, and maybe I'm harping too much on it, but people kind of got to believe in what you're doing, or if no one believes in it, you're not going to go anywhere. You can do
No.
all by yourself, but I kind of look at it like you got to make dogs to evaluate dogs. I mean, I don't
Yes.
know many programs that produce just one breeding a year. And I mean, how many dogs did you have to make to go to even make your own types? You know, I'm sure there was a lot of breeding involved and a lot of
Hell yeah.
evaluation. That's not easy, man.
No. Like I'm talking about.
Nathan's whole childhood gone.
Yeah. Like for real.
Is he there? Is he in Tuscaloosa right now?
No, he's right here.
I'm right here. I'm right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
I'm
like
present.
no, I mean
I'm
no,
present.
no shit though. There was years where it was. I couldn't tell you how many times we'd see 200 plus different dogs come through
Mhm.
That's cool.
within a year's time, year and a half's time, between 50 and 75 every year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be, you know, some that I would get from others that they had tested them and evaluated them, and they would be like, look, they're not proven, because like everybody's got their idea of a proven dog. And some, you know, and my idea is something totally different than most people's. All right. So here's the scenario. Just what we did the other day. We had Job, we had Jade, and we had Grinch. And we had Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
We all had all 4 of these dogs. Job has caught hogs how many times, you think? A lot.
He's caught hogs for sure
You know
in
what I'm saying?
different
Several
settings.
times.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, Jade has caught just a couple.
Yeah.
Just a couple. And then Grinch has never caught anything in the woods.
No.
Memphis he's chased, and he tried to catch one, and he got his little ass whooped. All right, so when we turned these dogs loose the other day, we staged them because we were off that mountain. And I was like, well, this hog's in the water, you know, it's big enough, we'll let a couple of these dogs go. Well, Job goes down there, catches, Grinch goes down there, catches. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Okay, so which dog was proven? Just because
Neither.
Grinch did the same fucking thing Job did, although Job's done it 20 times. But can I say he's a proven dog because he did it? No.
No, I think there's a lot that it takes to, like we talked about, proven lines and proven dogs are different things. When people come to me, I want them to know you're showing up for potential. And I will say, if a dog doesn't work out, I'm pretty good about fixing that and putting a dog in your hand again. That's the one thing, you know, I really don't want to put a bad rap into these dogs or you know, my name last, there's dogs' names first. But and there's also things I got to consider though too. I think sometimes people, I actually got some stuff to say about that. You know, when I think, you know, bringing dogs into maturity and exposing dogs is kind of an art in ways. I think sometimes people get a little too ambitious and they want the dog to grow on their time. Well, I'm used to raising these dogs, and they show me signs at 5 months old. I think this dog's a coal over here because it doesn't want anything to do with it. You're not. This isn't about you, man. This is about their genetics. We know what you want, and I know what I want. But I've had dogs not show me something till 8 months old, and you know, I think some people will just turn away, and I think terriers in general are hit pretty hard with the expectation. They need to be rough dogs from the start.
Yeah.
And I tend to lead my dogs without any force. I don't expose them to much at first. You know, they might see some game in a trap as young pups, see how they react to it, and then I'll turn it loose and let it go. You know, I mean, there's no hanging teeth. There's no being terriers until terriers have muscle and strong teeth and confidence. Job's a different style dog, I would say though. Like, some dogs like come out, um, just come out the box. Just it's like, damn. Like I remember the first time I saw him get into a boar coon, and I was like, that was so anticlimactic. I was like, really?
Yeah, it was just over
I thought
with.
this is it's done with. I was like, oh, he's getting chewed up. Damn, he's just eating it. And no, there was no cuts on him. This dog has such a hard mouth. When he bit that thing's chest, all the oxygen all escaped the lungs, and that thing couldn't actually breathe anymore and had any strength to bite him.
And
It
he
had his ears, but
died.
there was no punctures, and that was over. Like
Yeah.
pretty anticlimactic. But I've got terriers here, and I don't want them all to just be like Job. I like
No.
Jolene, very targeting dog and with predatory game. And, I'll say this, and I heard this from a friend of mine today. I had two dogs work a coon this morning, and sometimes it's best to not have them work with a bunch of dogs at once. And I've seen a lot of guys put tons of dogs on coons, and
No.
a dog doesn't learn to be anywhere. It just learns hate, and it just learns I'll grab anywhere. And when we're 6 dogs deep on this thing and it dies, it once it's alone, it's going to find out.
And then and if not like that, then what's going to happen is you're going to have that little wired up little demon dog, and then when
Yeah,
that coon's dead, he's going to turn to his buddy right there, and he's going to fucking smash him, and then you're going to have a
yeah,
dog fight out of this world
yeah.
because you
And so
got these dogs that are so ramped up, and you created this mess. You did. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? As the handler. The handler, 99% all this stuff is messed up because of the handler.
exactly.
I mean, it's not the
I've made
dog.
these mistakes. I made this mistake with my Yuma dog, Adolf, Whiskey's father. When I got him, I just felt like I had something to prove. I just wanted to hunt, hunt, hunt. And it's like, you're 6 months old. We're going to start doing all this. But he was a young dog, an immature dog. He wasn't, he caught one of my damn barn cats and just got his ears chewed on and just couldn't get the damn thing off. And dog mentally wanted it, but the dog physically couldn't take it. It was trapped all over him. Didn't have any idea what was going on. I was lucky that it didn't ruin him or anything. He still wanted it, but like I was like, Jesus, man, like you kind of got to protect these dogs from their own drive until they can do something with their drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I am. Like they evaluate them. They're not to be used until they can do it. So I work on socialization. I work on just normal dog shit. Like, I get to the yard, I want peace. I want socialized dogs and pens and getting their feet out and exploring the world freely. And I don't need you guys to prove anything to me. Like if your genetics are there at a year old, you're gonna let me know. Or maybe a little longer. But
Well, I mean, like we just talked about with the Grinch, the genetics
yeah,
are
he's
there.
never been in the wood.
He went, no problem, no issues. The first time I carried him, we basically all he did was ride in the truck and around other dogs, and he kept trying to nip at him. He kept wanting to. He didn't know what was going on. He had never been hunting. So I was like, you know what I'm
You
saying?
guys saw him with his lip when he showed up. He likes to
Yeah.
he wants to be a little dominant. He
Now,
wants to
but look at him now. He was down there clipped to another dog with all that going on with no issues.
nothing. He rides in the box. He's in and
Yes.
out. He's just getting exposed and making sense of it now.
It's sensibility. That's what I always talk about. A dog has to have sensibility for me to really push that dog. If he doesn't have
Yeah.
any sensibility by the time he's 8 to 10 months old, I will wait for a year. But at the same time, it's like I want him to have it. And I say that because, like, they should be able to figure out, hey, it's pouring down rain. I need to get up under the porch. Something
Yeah,
that
they've got to
simple.
have some,
Yeah.
and there's certain dogs in these programs I've seen and like, things I also say, yeah, we talked about hunt drive, like it's got to be there. But if other boxes aren't checked, or if the dog is so neurotic, or the dog is, painting its shit all over the place, destroying water buckets,
Yes.
eventually, like that's not something to continue on with. Like I love that the dog wants to kill everything, but I think a good hunting dog And when we were talking about American Pit Bull Terriers, like a dog of class in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
I want these dogs to have that kind of class, and
And
they
it's
do there.
for real ones that are out there still. There are some, and they are dogs of class, like you said. These are dogs
Yeah.
that can really, and here's why: because they were protected.
Yeah.
They were protected. Those dogs still do exist. I know where some are, and I've been lucky enough to own quite a few. But like I
Yeah, I think
said,
good
they were
programs, yeah.
protected.
They protect their dogs. I think a lot of people get all bent out of shape about gatekeeping and gatekeeping is bad when there's good dogs to breed to. Gatekeeping isn't bad when there's not good dogs to breed to.
Well, I think with these that what we're doing with these, we have to. We don't have enough of them to just start breeding to whoever.
Yep.
It has to. You have to really think about this stuff and be like, look, I've got all this invested, all this
No
time, this work.
shortcuts.
Yeah, and it's like, are you are you trying to breed and make a little bit of money? Or are you trying to breed and just try something different? Because like there's all different reasons, of course, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if we're going to do this, then we need to concentrate, and this is what we need to look for. These
Yep.
are the traits. These are the character. We need a book. We need a rules and regulations for what we're doing. We need a standard for what we want out of these dogs that we're doing.
And look at the game and kind of have expectations for how they're going to handle that, because I think it's going to go all sorts of places. I've had guys in Arizona call and they're like, hey, I want to tree lions with them. And I'm like, hey, like, that's cool and all, but I wouldn't really consider these a tree dog. Like if they can visibly see the lion and the short juniper and they can't climb up there and get them, yeah, maybe they'll stay there. Like I hunted my dog Yuma in the beginning with 2-year-old walkers and we treated a bobcat and he was there. And he was looking up and he was about it, but that dog has really high search habits, and I want them all to have high search habits, but it's not his everyday thing he's doing,
Yeah.
and maybe you can kind of breed that way, but if I'd also you want to see them staying in the standard of which they came from. Like they've got to hit hogs, they've got to hit, kind of all game.
Yeah, they got to be a versatile dog,
They got to have some versatility. And
well,
I
like with the Yog Terriers, they're very versatile, but you don't see many that tree very well. They might find game and sit at the tree, but there's not a lot of them that stand and bark on tree. If you want to do that, get you a tree dog, get you a Kimmerker or a Feist or a Rat Terrier, or something like that has more of that treeing instinct.
And and like you said, like if you're, too, like walk hunting and different styles of hunting with these dogs, like, you can get them to tree, but if you want them to run through the mountains of Montana and Wyoming and Idaho and just put miles on bears and lions, like that's really not, I feel like the style these dogs work that way with. Like they're not,
I
that's
don't
not
either.
kind of, I mean, I've that Anna dog, before I had her, she had a litter, and a guy in West Virginia took that dog bear hunting with some dogs, and I think he had some plots. I gotta talk to my buddy Truett and figure out his name again. But I remember I wanted to know everything about that dog and everything he had done with that dog, and I was told that damn dog's first or second time on a hunt, that bear didn't tree, and that was the last time they saw that dog.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, like sometimes maybe see really what these dogs are about and what game is appropriate for them. And I mean, some people look at this, well, that was a dumb dog, but maybe it's not a dumb dog. Maybe that dog is so
Maybe it's a
bred and
dumb
styled for
handler.
hogs. Yeah,
It's a dumb handler. I don't mean
maybe
that
it's
no bad way. They just might not have known any better.
yeah. But if the dog has self-preservation,
Yeah.
things are different, and that's kind of where like
Sensibility.
if they have preservation in them, I sometimes think Joe we wouldn't take him to do that. I don't ever want
No.
to do that. Yeah, so, but I look at the game and look at the history of the dogs and kind of keep funneling them that way.
Mhm.
Versatile, but maybe not.
within their genre though,
Yeah,
because like you
just
said,
like
we gave a Patterdale pup to a good friend of ours. And let me tell you something, that little Patterdale won so many little bay competitions. That some bitch won tree, like it would tree 100+ barks a minute, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't ever tell anybody that it came from us. She's like, why? I said, it's a Patterdale. She's like, well, he does so good. I said, that's a cull. I was like, I mean, all my Patterdales were just hard as nails. Just, they were like little miniature game dogs. And
exactly. And I kind of think of that way with
yeah,
them. They're a dog that you put in a hole and go mess stuff up down there.
yeah. So if you've got one that does something out of the box over here, I'm not going to breed for that though, just because it's really good at it. It doesn't matter. That's because then you're steering away from what the breed was designed for. If you want something that's going to tree that hard, get a treeing dog of some type.
Yeah.
And if you want to reinvent the wheel and say, well, I got one that'll tree this, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I had a black lab that'll tree the dog shit out of anything that was on the wood. I promise you. But at the same time, we're not good. I don't know anybody in their right mind. You name one person that has a kennel for English labs that would breed to that dog because it treed. They would look at you and they'd say, you're stupid.
If we're gonna go catch coyotes on the run, we should probably have some bull lurchers or some greyhounds, right?
Without a doubt.
We're not dumping the terriers to they're never gonna catch a coyote. You can decoy them, but you've got to also, I mean, that's the thing is, like, when I started in dogs, it wasn't in terriers. Like, I moved to this remote ranch and had this amazing opportunity, and my neighbor had Walker hounds, and we'd go catch cats, and he had border collies. And my first interactions with coyote were these wild border collies that were, I don't know what was in them. He says they were full border collies, but sometimes they would break loose, and I'd be doing stuff with cattle, and a coyote would be in the field, and they would just leave the herd and just work the coyote, and they would go off on a race and come back all cut. They'd chew on them. They could never kill them, but it was this marsh country. So a lot of people were like, dude, no border collies catching a coyote. This marsh country had dike roads. It was deep water on these dike roads, and those coyotes knew that once they get off that dike road, they're swimming and trudging in water, and that's when those coyotes would get jumped, when those border collies would be catching them on those dike roads, and when they finally break off, they could get on them in the water. I got a photo somewhere of 4 border collies fighting a coyote in the marsh, and I'll have to find it somewhere. They could never kill them, but these coyotes, these border collies, they hated them. And again, it's like, not the dog for that, even though the dog might do it. That maybe that's not. You guys need to go back to the cattle.
Yeah, and that's exactly one of the. I think that's one of the biggest things people get caught up in, because they get a particular breed, and that it'll do one of these things that's kind of outside of its genre, and then they try to concentrate on that, and I'm like, well, why? And
kind of like the wire hair pointers.
Yeah, and then they get surprised when they don't work, when it's not consistent. Well, it's, like you said, there's a few breeds out there that, you can do about anything you want to with them. There's several of them. There's the wire hair pointer. I know people that have done a lot with them. I have, but I've crossed them with pit bulls, and people are like, why would you do that? What are you adding to the pit bull? Well, I'm not adding nothing to the pit bull. I'm adding this to the bird dog, or I'm taking something away from that bird dog to utilize it for what I want it for. And then I guide that dog in the direction of the game that I want it to run. But guess what? They already have breeds that can do that. So I just don't even do that anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's my biggest, that's what we're doing here. It's, what are we, and what lane do we need to stay in, versus let's not, again, I think sometimes from the European view, and when I've talked to these guys, they've built these dogs for a long time, and it's kind of a slap in the face to take their dogs and say, I'm going to do it my way now. You're not going to get another dog from them. And when they're reaching me, or, the thing is this, these guys see where I place dogs. A lot of the people who are friends with me are friends with them on Facebook, on social media. And, they have reached out to me and mentioned things before. And, it's not, and sometimes at that level of respect, I think we need to have in dogs. Just because we're in another continent doesn't mean that respect isn't, can't cover that distance.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I get it. What I think one thing though is when we're doing these, and I say I'm going to say when you're doing this, okay? When you're doing this and you have a litter of pups and you're going to put them out there and you're going to have them open, I think what you should do is say, okay, this is this breed. This is what this breed is designed to do. This is what, and if you're not going to do what's within this breed, then I just don't feel comfortable letting you take this dog.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I've had to learn some lessons in all of this. And
yeah,
I've had people have reached out like, dude, I want to be in these dogs. Like, I want to help. I want to be a part of this. And I look at it as like, like one guy can do a lot, but like, and if we all work together, because eventually, like, my life's not gonna probably, as much as I'm a guy who didn't come from dogs. I'm not like you and Nathan, and so I utilized my resources and my friendships with people in dogs, and it's proven to have worked for me. And so when someone comes along that's also been in dogs, you gotta get to know people before you start putting dogs in their hands.
Yeah.
And I vet people and I go through them, but sometimes I will say this, they'll tell you everything you want to hear.
Oh, I know. Believe you me. That's how I got the Heide Terriers I got. I started talking that sweet stuff to you.
Yeah, you guys definitely did.
I was like, listen, Josh, this is what I need to do, buddy. then I was like, well, got that one killed, Josh, and had this one fucked up. I don't know what's going on with this one. This one's crazy. Now I done got this dog where it's insane. And Josh,
and we've always appreciated your honesty, and I'll say that. Like,
I try to be, and sometimes it sucks because I have no choice but to just say, hey, this is what it is, and there are times where it's like I don't want to say nothing. But then there's times where it's like, okay, well, then I'm shortchanging the dogs. Am I gonna really do this for the dogs, or am I just talking shit?
Exactly.
You have to be able to do the good and the bad, no matter what. You have to have the hard talks, and you and I have had them. You and Nate's had them more than me and you have.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always taught Nate. I was like, we do this, and I'm honestly, I'm way more laid back and stuff, but I'm also a lot older. So I know where a lot of these things are going to go. I know what's going to happen. Like Uncle Pat was talking about some of these dogs. You don't have to trash break them. Give it till they're 3 years old. It'll clean itself up. Just keep putting them on what you want it to run.
Yeah.
And that works a lot. But a lot of that is just pure and simple where you have taken the time to do it.
I put a lot of handle on these dogs, man. And that was one of my big things, trash breaking and talking to houndsmen. We got to break them off this. We got to break them off that. If you, like you said, if you get them on game that they're meant to be on and you continue, they'll start to figure that out themselves. Versus the overhandling, the overcorrecting. Once the dog's been shocked, how many times when there's different styles of handling. There's the man that goes out there and says, do it or fucking else. Sorry, excuse my language. Do it or else.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Or, let's just take time and I'm going to continue. Yeah, you might run some deer. You might run some of this, but we caught this and we're still going. And we keep getting more and more experiences of that game. They're excited to come out of the box. They're excited to get out of the kennels or where you keep them. And they're going to start putting it together.
Yep. Without a doubt. And that's, I think that rolls over to people, to handlers as well. If you continue to do these things that are working, then it gets better. But if you do these things that aren't working, and I mean that with anything that has to do with the hunting world or hunting dogs, whatever, if if you're on, if you got friends out here in the dog world and they're always on your ass about something, well, you're probably doing something stupid or saying the wrong thing. Or if you going to social media saying dumb shit, somebody's on your ass about it. Or if you've got all these ideas and 9 other people tell you, look, that's insane, probably is, it, just try to put yourself in the best frame of mind that you can for the breed of the dog that you're handling. Because if not, then you're just doing it for yourself, and you're just another guy out there that has a dog. You're not a dog man. You just own dogs.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the way I feel, and that's just me. And it's just an opinion. So, but let's see what we got going on here. What time is it? Oh man, Josh, we've been talking for 1 hour and 45 minutes, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We've been going. There's so much to say, right? And so little time. And
no, I think this has been a good conversation. It hasn't been. Normally, I'm all off topic and talking crazy and stuff. I think we held true to talking about the breed of the dog and what you're doing and what we're doing, and then what we're all doing together as well. And there's several.
And there's a lot of great people involved,
Yes, it is. And there's a few other people out there. My buddy Roy, been friends with Roy for a long time, and I got word he thinks I'm all pissed off at him or whatever. No, but we're going to have a conversation, discuss, whatever is going on, if that's what it is. And I ain't scared to say it. It ain't none of that. It's no animosity, nothing matter, anything. But Roy has a great dog, Adolf, and could be one of the most influential people, period, for this breed in the right light.
I remember that dog, and I remember when I chose that dog for Roy.
Mm-hmm.
I had looked at 9 pups, and if I didn't sell that dog to Roy, that was the dog that I liked the most from out of all of his pups. He was just kind of the one out the gates. He had the bone, the block, the confidence. He's
a looker.
He's a good dog, and I mean, those dogs, I put them together, and I put him with Elko and kind of went through that litter, and there's people who are loving those dogs, and there's parts of those breedings that I've made notes on, and it's like maybe I saw some things I liked, and maybe there's some things that can be worked on. We can talk about Herm, right? Like, he's probably not the size that I would be the most ecstatic about, but the damn mind's there. He's going, and at least that box continues to get checked.
Yes, he hunts, he drives, he pushes, he voices on track a good bit, not too much, but I think he's one of those dogs that you could walk hunt him to the point of where it's just perfection.
Yeah,
but he can get deep. He's made a 2-mile race. And you know what I'm saying? He's not that big. He's 25 pounds. He's a small one.
Yeah, he came out a little small.
Yeah, and that, to me, that's one of the things that he lacks. The next thing would be he's very, very smart, but at the same time he's a very challenging dog. You can tell some of the bull breed or Molliser type dogs, they're real big into that, like the Alano and different things like that. They'll challenge you. They want to be the boss. But he learned he's not the boss. And that's where that handler comes in. It's and that dog right there would be one of the easiest ones ever just to screw up. Because he's tough. I ain't going to lie to you. He's tough. But
I definitely, and I've had to evaluate dogs at the yard, and like I told you, I don't want to deal with neurotic dogs. I think hunting dogs need to be, and everyone has different opinions on this, but my hunting dogs, I want them to be a dog of class. I want them to be the quintessence of hunting terriers. I think a lot of people who maybe love the German hunting terrier, and over time we'll see these dogs and it might fit the bill for them. I see a lot of guys that want oversized York terriers, and if that's where you want to be, this is the place that you need to have a conversation and explore and really look at it. But with these style dogs, it's, and that's where I'm evaluating them on. Like I don't care how hard the dog hunts. If it's too neurotic, like I want them to keep nice. I want them to be, they have to hunt. They have to have drive. They have to have innate anger
Yes.
with the game. They have to be able to think freely on a hunt. And some dogs, don't always want to go run their own race. They got to go with other dogs. But um, I like how these terriers right now I have from Damon and Jolene are. I've got 3 here, and um, I'm definitely raising 2 to keep. They have the bone I like, the drive I want. They're, what are they, almost 5 months old, and their kennels, they're calm. They're not freaking out. Same with Damon and Jolene and
See, that's the way
Jove and
Fang
these other
is.
dogs.
Fang was pretty calm until after he was here for about a month, and then that crazy shit that Herm does. He's
Yeah,
neurotic.
and that environment.
And it gets all of them fired up, and then therefore it rolls over into, it's like having one inmate in jail that's in there screaming all day long. Eventually, others start screaming too.
Yeah,
And
and
like you
that's the
said,
thing.
it's a lot.
And I think that's a tough thing too, because I've looked at so many angles, and it's like kenneling dogs versus living close to dogs. Like if, you kennel dogs and all they ever do is come out for a few months of the year, that's kind of like maybe inmate kind of style when you're used to just watching every hour of the day pass by. I'm really lucky that the dogs I have can fluctuate in both settings, but can also, if I've got to go to Europe for 3 weeks or something, they kennel decently well. They're not raging. I don't have to go through bark collars. I've gone through that with dogs who were neurotic, and I won't keep that. I like, if I'm okay. And some people might think this is crazy, but there's going to be some aggression in terriers. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. It's predictable. It's preventable. When I take them out to work, they're not looking to initially get into it with each other. They're getting into it when you give them nothing to do. And so it's like where, I'm going to go now with them is the whole picture, trying to make that work and being honest with that. And like I told you guys, we'll have conversations where, hey, this isn't working for X, Y, and Z. This is what we got to do, and that's what I enjoy in this.
Yeah.
It's not let's breed that to this. It's see we can sell it for like it's not that.
No, and that's the thing about it is because like you're gonna have so much invested in it, like you can't really make any money if you're doing it correctly.
No,
And I mean,
it's all write-offs. That's about it.
yeah, I was going to say like you said, it's like you get some back, and then you got to
Yeah,
buy
I've
food,
got
you got to
some.
buy shots, you got to buy collars, you got to buy all these other things, and so it's a compounding deal over and over. Well,
Yeah, what
but if
exactly?
somebody wants one of these pups here, and I've talked to several guys, they've inquired, and
Mm-hmm.
and and I've told them I was like, I got to have another year with these before I could ever even dream of telling you, saying, "Hey, Josh, these are the ones I think we should breed."
Yeah.
I got to have the rest of this year. I mean, they got to be a full 2 years old before I could ever even. And then when I say they're going to be proven, like they're hunted.
Yeah.
They're going to be on a lot of hunts. They're going to be on 100+ hunts a year. And they have
Mm-hmm.
to be, or I just don't feel like you're giving them enough. And I still
Yeah.
don't feel like it's enough.
And that's the thing too. I think some guys also just constantly are trying to prove it to themselves at times because it is a serious
Get
thing.
up
And
off your ass and take them hunting. That's how
yeah,
you prove it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
that is how
literally how
you
you prove it.
exactly. And and I've told you that too. And the fact of like with this and, a lot of in this program too is being honest with these young dogs. Like I went after proven lines. I've seen their dogs there, hunted their dogs there, looked for the obvious signs. I mean, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at a a kennel of hunting dogs and not one dog there has a scar on it, probably don't get one.
Yeah.
If if you were going there and the dogs are all laying in the house and are,
Yeah, they're all getting
sensitive type
along and just
dogs,
laid back. Yeah, fuck no. I don't want those.
yeah, yeah, it's if it's maybe 10 degrees outside and the snow's and they're excited when they hear cut gear and jingle bells, like I
Yeah.
told you, maybe that's something to go check out and see. And that's where I am with it, with these dogs, and evaluating them from there. For the things I've shown them, like Job and Damon and Jolene, they've always so far hung game. And I think that's a tough thing too when we talk about proven dogs. And my friend Sylvanus has shared a lot of his knowledge with me, and he said you can ruin a good dog, but also listen to and look at the genetics of the dog. When the dog shows up every time and it does work out, that 10 boar, 20 boar, 100 boar, the dog wants the boar. Experience will sharpen as the dog continues, but look at how this dog's starting out the gates versus how long you're having to wait. Like, if Damon doesn't go and hang teeth, I'm going to be confused. I'm going to be stumped.
Yeah.
Same with Job, and once you start to see the dogs they are, I think that's where you can start to evaluate, all right, what do you do with that, in a program where you're spending and traveling and going.
And I like you said, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse with it, but like with Grinch and Job, like there was no hesitation. It's like, and every one of them, like Fang, all these Nom, the Bopsy twins, every one of them, as soon as they seen it, they go and they hang teeth. So therefore, it is a proven line. The line has proven itself so far. You get what I'm saying?
And now we go through a pile of dogs and see who stands out amongst them.
Now it's fine. Let's find the superstars.
That's right. Who's dunking, who's hitting threes, and who needs to sit their ass on the bench and watch for a little bit.
That's exactly right. Right now, on our yard, I can tell you right now, Ursula, she's got to watch a little bit because she's just a bitch. And then, like Nom, I'm letting him. He's the next one I'm going to put in. He was my first one, but I had to pull him back out. All right. Then Grinch, right now, he's dunking. Bam. Every time. And little Fang, right now, he's the towel boy running back and forth, but he'll be there.
I need a Gatorade Fang.
Yeah. But I promise you,
Water boy.
You let that little joker, I guarantee you, if I put him on I put game in front of him, it's going to happen.
That's right.
I really, without a doubt,
But hey, Nathan's the real MVP. We gotta shout him out on this podcast for going down there and carrying the boar over his shoulder the whole way out.
Carrying that dude out.
What did we all said what, maybe 170 north of that, maybe? Like, he was heavy. It's funny too when you look at hogs. Sometimes the mass of them, just you gotta start dragging them around to see.
Yes.
Yeah. He was dense, so I gutted him. I lifted his hearts and lungs in, but he was real full. He was full of all kinds of stuff. He'd been munching after all that rain and stuff throughout the night.
He'd been out feeding good.
I'd probably say gutted. He weighed like 130, 150, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said,
yeah, you were packing my ass out the mountain. That's why I want to go hunt with Nate. Since something happens, he'll carry me out.
Yeah, I tote you
out. What did I
out.
tell you the day before? I said, "Don't worry, Josh. If something happens, I'll tote you out. It'll be okay."
Yeah, we're gonna get you tough. We're gonna get you toughened up. But no, we had a good time.
I have a lot of drive and very little sense.
That's right, man.
But no,
it was a good time, and we'll do it again.
Yes, we'll do it again very soon. We need to do it before it gets super, super hot, because man, it gets so hot and humid here, it's ridiculous.
I'm still acclimating to the South, and I mean, we didn't even get to talk. I mean, we talked a little bit in the beginning, and I know we've got to wrap this up, but it's the wild, wild East or South, whatever you want to call it. The wild, wild West. Yeah, we know that, but people need to not overlook dogs in the South.
No, I guarantee you.
Jesus, man.
I know some guys that have some really good dogs. Like, mine are shit. I know some guys who have some real good dogs.
Yep.
and they will freaking roll, but I'm talking about they will stroke. And the thing about it is, it doesn't matter the terrain, the time of day. It don't matter. Like they're not waiting on scent to dry up or anything. Like it doesn't matter. Let's just put them down. We're gonna run them.
Yep.
You know, and it does. All those things do play a big factor in it, especially when you get to the more of the hound style or the cur dogs. You know, you got a limited time for your moisture to hang around to keep your scent there. But some of them just don't. Some of them guys don't care. Them dogs just push so hard. Eventually, they're going to go out there and run their nose in something's ass, and it's going to jump, and they're going to run it then. You know,
That's right.
So. But no, man, anytime you come on back, we had a good time, and we really appreciate the dogs.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. You guys are good people, and, you know, as I've told you, great friends, and there's a lot to learn, and I'll be back. You know, hopefully we can plan some more hunts and see some different country. And maybe one of these days we'll get Nathan over the ocean, let him hang out with the Germans or the Lithuanians and get those for us. So
I'd love to tote a pig over there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
I'll say, hey, he carries him out of the hunt. Don't pick it up. He's from Alabama. He'd become famous. They would keep Nathan and breed him over there.
Nate's like,
I don't want to tote him on flat ground if we can drive. Yeah. But if we got a hill and we can't drive up it, I don't mind. Yeah, it's a good workout.
It's got to be done.
It's a good workout.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, buddy, I appreciate you once again. Thank you. Thanks as well.
I appreciate you guys and everyone involved and everyone who's been involved and all my friends. Like I said, like, you know, my friend Truett, Zilvinus, Arn, Ingo. It all started with Ingo, and the people I work with now, like you guys, and especially Heidi and my friend Kelly, and the people day in and day out. I think a lot of people don't realize it's not always just one person, it's many people. So I appreciate you guys.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you later, man. Thank you.
See you, buddy.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right. Well, that was a little more. I've had quite a few people request about some more info on these terriers. And as you can see, like what we've talked about, I mean, they're not just for everybody. They're not just an all around, just do whatever dog, although they can do a lot of things. But if you put them in their wheelhouse for what they're really meant to do, they'll shine. And if you get out of their way and let them do their thing, they'll really shine. So, and that goes for any breeded dog. You know, it also goes for people. Put them in their wheelhouse, get out of their way, let them shine. So for all you guys out there that's not shining, get in your wheelhouse and shine. Hey, and just remember, if you don't know our good Lord and Savior, get to know him. It don't cost you nothing. He's there. And so we appreciate all y'all. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, we will see y'all then.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If there's anything or anyone you'd like to hear on the podcast, or if you'd like to come hunt with us, don't hesitate to contact us at dixiedoggers01@gmail.com.